Every family has a story, but it's almost never written down in one neat place. You usually find it in pieces, right? A name on some government list, a date on an old photo, maybe a line in a will. Well, today, we're going to piece one of those stories together. It's a century-long journey of a family that helped build a community on the Canadian prairies, literally from the ground up.
Okay, so take a look at this. At first glance, it's just a boring old government list of water well drillers in Alberta from 1961. There are hundreds of names here, but we're going to zoom in on just one. Burgess, George, from a little town called Calmar. Because that one name on this one line is our doorway into a huge and really personal family story.
So this is our guide, George Burgess. And by following the thread of his life, we're basically going to travel back in time. We'll get to see the story of the pioneers who came before him, their struggles, their successes, and how everything they went through really shaped the man he became.
To really get a handle on George and what he did for a living, we have to go back, way back, to where it all started, to the wild, untamed land his family first called home, and the world they had to build for themselves. So check out this timeline. This is where two completely separate family stories from an ocean apart start heading toward each other. You've got William Burgess, born in England. At the same time, you've got the Bell family, already putting down roots in Alberta. For years, they're living parallel lives. And then, 1930. A train pulls into Edmonton, William gets off, and who's there to pick him up? His future father-in-law. That moment connected these two pioneering families forever, and they didn't even know it yet. Just take a second and really look at this photo of the Bell family farm. What's not there? There are no tractors, no power lines, nothing modern. Just like the caption says, this land, their entire world, was cleared by hand, with an axe, a grub hoe, and good old-fashioned horsepower. It's just incredible to think about the sheer effort it took to build a life out here.
And the back-breaking labor was only half the problem. This quote, wow, it really hits home how isolated they were. A doctor was 20 miles away, the hospital 40. Can you imagine? A simple accident could turn into a total disaster. You had no choice but to rely on your neighbors for pretty much everything.
Life back then was just a relentless fight. You were dealing with massive dust storms in the dirty 30s. You had swarms of mosquitoes coming off the wetlands. And a trip to the closest town, it wasn't a quick drive. It was an 18-mile, 2-day ordeal by horse and wagon. There's no radio, no TV, no modern anything. Community wasn't just a nice idea, it was an absolute lifeline. So you've got these unbelievably resilient people building this tight-knit community, just determined to make it work. But everything, the farm, the family, their entire future, it all depended on one single, unbelievably precious resource. Any guesses what it was?
Yep, water. Everything came down to water. Having a reliable, clean source of water was the difference between a farm that thrived and one that just withered away. It was, quite literally, the difference between life and death. And finding it out on the prairies was a constant, desperate mission.
And that fundamental challenge, that constant search for water, is what brings us right back to George Burgess. He was born into this world. He understood its single greatest need, and he pretty much built his entire life around solving that problem for people. This document right here really captures his whole life's work. It's an official well report from George's company. For decade after decade, he was the man you call to find that lifeblood for your farm, for your home. He wasn't just drilling for water. He was drilling for security, for prosperity. He was drilling for his community's future. And this timeline just shows how deeply rooted his life was in one place, Calmar, Alberta. He was born there. He started his business there when he was only 20 years old. He buried his wife, Alma, and raised his family there. After Alma passed away in 2009, he did find companionship again later in life and married Donalda. He was just a pillar of that community his entire life, right up until he passed away at the age of 90. And this idea of serving the community, it was clearly a family thing. It was in his DNA. His dad, William, served on the local education board, looking out for the future of the area's kids. And what did George do? He carried on that legacy of service, not just by drilling wells, but by serving as a town councilor. It was like father, like son, both of them literally building the community they lived in.
And through it all, he never lost his connection to the land. He was a well driller by trade, sure, but he was a farmer by heart. And this quote from his memorial, it just says so much about his character. He was determined to provide for his family and met every single challenge head on, even dealing with vision impairment. The guy had serious grit.
So, after a whole century of this family's life on the Alberta prairies, from the very first swing of an axe at Conjuring Creek all the way to today, what's the legacy they leave behind? What does it all add up to?
Well, part of that legacy is tangible. It's something you can hold. It's recorded in formal documents, like this one. This is his last will. It's how he passed on the material results of a lifetime of hard work to the next generation, making sure they were provided for.
But the more important legacy, the real one, isn't written on paper. It lives and breathes. It's in his children, Peter, Donna, and William. And it's in his 6 grandchildren. They're the ones who carry not just the family name, but the whole story and the values that were forged way back then at Conjuring Creek. And really, this is the heart of it all. The legacy isn't the land, or the business, or even the name on a document. It's a spirit, an unwavering spirit. It's that resilience, that dedication to family and community, passed down from those very first pioneers who dared to build a life out of nothing.
And all of this kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? 100 years from now, what are the seemingly ordinary pieces of our lives, our texts, our photos, our day jobs? What are they going to say about us? What story are we building for the future, one day at a time?